this is an extra video to go along with our graphing absolute value. There are a few questions in class today, so I wanted to just put together an extra video so that you would have something to look at while you were working on this at home. Okay, so what we said in class is we have this basic absolute value function. So we have like y equals absolute value of x. Well, if you remember also from class, this absolute value sign just says that negatives go positive. Go positive. So basically, anytime you have a negative, if it's inside of an absolute value, you could put it in an absolute value, but afterwards the result is the absolute value makes the negative go away. So when we were graphing the basic function, we set our little t-chart up, or our little xy table, and we said, okay, well, here are x's, so -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. You don't have to use all of those numbers every single time, but this gives you an idea. So if our y is just absolute value of x, then what happens is we put this, like say this -3, we put the -3 inside the absolute value and it automatically turns it positive. Absolute value of -2 turns into +2, absolute value of -1 turns into +1, absolute value of 0 is just a 0, absolute value of a +1 is just a +1 because that's already positive. +2 is already positive, so that stays 2. +3 is already positive, so that stays 3. So then we graph it. We have, this is our coordinate pair, we have -3, +3. We have -2, +2, and on down the list. So if we come over here, then for the first point we go 1, 2, 3 spaces to the left, 1, 2, 3 spaces up, so we put a point. The next point we go 2 spaces to the left, 2 spaces up, so we go there, and then we have there. We just graph each of these points, then we go back positive again. So it looks like that. Well, that's an ugly one. Let me redo that. There we go. So then we can connect our line, and it looks like a V. Remember we said V for value. Yay! Like we're shopping at a good store. Okay, so then on your worksheet, we took this basic graph. So let me copy this. I'm going to put it onto the next page. So copy. There's one thing I love about iPad. You could copy and paste things. It's super handy. There you go. Ta-da! Saved myself a bunch of work. So the first set of problems that you have, we were supposed to take, we said this is our generic formula, or general form. We have A, absolute value, x minus h, plus k. So x is just your x. That's your variable. A, h, and k can all be numbers. A, h, k. These are numbers. Now in this general form we're going to see over and over and over, because every time we have a different kind of function, the a value on the outside and then this h on the inside and the k on the outside are all going to do the same things over and over. They're going to change our graph. So on the worksheet, the first assignment was that you're going to take this f of x equals, and you're going to have your absolute value of x, and then you're going to plus or minus something. So your job was then to come up with 4 different random numbers. So like, let's say this is your first one. And let's say you put +1. Let's say for your second one, I'm going to do this in another color, and you'll see why in just a minute. So you have f of x, and we're going to pick another number. Let's say absolute value of x minus 1. And then let's do another color. Number 3, we have f of x equals absolute value of x plus 2. And then the fourth one, let's see, we'll make this purple. We'll have f of x equals absolute value of x minus 2. So notice these are all different. So I have a +1, -1, +2, -2. What we're doing, these are the values that we're plugging in for k. So your k in this case, in the first one, is a +1, so k equals 1. And this time k equals -1. This one we're adding 2 to the outside. This one we're subtracting 2 from the outside. That's going to be important here a little bit later on in your problem. So what we do then, we want to graph these, But these are 4 different functions, so you're going to have 4 different v shapes. So we have to make a chart for each one of them. So let me do this one blue. So for the first one, we're going to select our x's. We're just going to say -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. You could put -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3 if you want to. I'm just saving some space. So our y value in this case is going to be absolute value of x plus 1. Oops, that's inside the absolute value. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this -2 and you're going to put it in where the x is. So this is going to say absolute value -2. Now it's okay to put the -2 inside. What happens is that once it's in there, that's okay. The absolute value is going to spit it back out positive. So this is going to be 2 plus 1. So this is 3. The next one, wherever the x was, you're going to put your -1 and then plus 1. Well, your absolute value spits this -1 out as a positive 1. So we have 1 plus 1. So this is 2. Then we're going to have absolute value of 0 plus 1. So this is just 0 plus 1. So that's 1. Now we're going to have absolute value of 1 plus 1. Well, the absolute value of positive 1 is just a positive 1. So now we have 1 plus 1. So that's 2. And then finally we have absolute value of positive 2 plus 1. So that's going to be 2 plus 1. So that's a 3. So now we're going to take those points and we're going to put them on a graph. Well, the first point is -2, positive 3. So we go 2 to the left. And then we're going to, oh, let me see. My thing's not lined up. Let me line this up real quick, because we want this to be easy to graph. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to go -2, positive 3. So that means my point's going to be here. The next one we're going to go -1 up positive 2. So that goes here. Then we have 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3. So it's going to be like that. So let me connect my lines. So notice that it's the same shape except that it moved. So the blue line looks just like the red line except now it's up. Okay, so that's our first example. So then we go to our next color. You're going to go through this with each of your colors. So your next one, we're going to do is we're going to make a little T-chart again. Let's see here. Okay, I'm going to put it right here. And then you're going to say this is your x. Your new f of x is now absolute value of x minus 1, right? Because that's the one that we came up with here up at the top, where our k was a -1. So then if we keep the same x's, so -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and I would recommend keeping your same x's for every single one of them so that way you can see what it's actually doing on the graph. So then we're going to plug this in again, so we're going to have an absolute value of -2 minus 1 this time. So it spits it back out positive. We have 2 minus 1, so that's a 1. Then we plug in our -1 just like we did before. So this is going to be 1 minus 1, so that's a 0. Then at 0, we've got absolute value of 0 minus 1, so this is going to give us -1. You could probably figure out what we're doing by now. So we have 1 minus 1, that's a 0. We have 2 minus 1 is going to be a 1, so then we come back over here again. We're going to have the same types of points, except we shift it again. So we have there, we have there, we have here, we have here. So then if we connect our line, it looks like this. So we have our same v for value, it's just our v for value moved. Ta-da! So you're going to do that for each of your k values. And sorry this video is a little bit long, it's just to help you to where you understand what we're doing. The second one on your worksheet is going to be exactly like this, only instead of adding or subtracting on the outside of the absolute value, you're going to add or subtract on the inside. And I'll go back to that one in a minute, or you could rewind the video. So if you had y equals absolute value of x, that's called your parent function. That's your most basic form of it. So now what you're doing is you're adding or subtracting on the inside. So you have x plus 1 or x minus 1 or whatever number you want to use. So then you would do the same thing with your xy chart. Only now, let's say -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. On this side, you're going to have negative 2 plus 1 inside your absolute value. Well, negative 2 plus a positive 1, that's negative 1, right? So that means you have a negative 1 on the inside. And so once you're going to do all of this stuff inside first. Now, you don't take the absolute value of 2, or negative 2, and then add the 1. You're going to put it in. You're going to do all this inside stuff first. Let me put that on here. Do inside first. And then when you've added and subtracted everything, you'll end up with the absolute value of a number. So in this case, absolute value of negative 1. So that's just going to be a positive 1. So you're going to do all the inside stuff first, and then you'll turn it positive. And then you're just going to graph it and do it just like we did before. Okay, I hope that helped. If it doesn't, ask me in class, or you can send me a question through Edmodo. I get a notification on my email, so I'll be able to answer your questions if you have one. But okay, well, have fun doing your homework.